Has Ron Johnson been commuting from Silicon Valley to Penney in Plano, Texas? Does that have something to do with this?
I wouldn't expect to see a lot of him in Plano, Texas going forward. It's interesting, and this is a guy who probably spends a lot of his life on airplanes. He spends a lot of time, we know he spent a lot of time in Manhattan in particular trying to work out this deal with Martha Stewart that proved to be a real disaster, ended up being called into court for colluding against Macy's. At least that was the accusation, because Macy's had an exclusive deal with Martha Stewart. But it shows how desperate he was to find hooks for the consumer to have a different understanding of the business. I think one of the reasons the board made such a dramatic move here is because there is a real strong asset here. So 2/3 of the JCPenney stores are what they call on mall. That is to say, they're in a shopping mall, but their average rent is just $4 a square foot. So they have long-term anchor leases that are over time expiring. And yet, Hillary made mention of apparel. 45% of the sales for this company is apparel, but they've done it before Ron Johnson, did it by discounting and discounting and discounting more because they couldn't attract the name brands. So I think the communication here that the board didn't have a disagreement with him in terms of direction suggests that there's not going to be a big change, that they want to continue to go towards direction of going more Sephora, less Walmart, if you will. They want their consumer to imagine a higher price point. The average price per sale of an item at JCPenney was, I believe, $14 last year. And they want to get that number up while they try to bring some costs down here. But the cheap rent, the more than 1,000 stores, 2/3 of them in shopping malls with that cheap rent, is an asset here that they really think that that can still be put to use if they can start to reshape that brand. Ron Johnson obviously ran out of time.
Hang on, Corey Johnson, because I want to bring in our own Sheila Dharmarajan from the newsroom. She's been following this story. Sheila, the same-store sales for JCPenney are down about 32%. That was in the fourth quarter. That was fourth quarter of 2012. They've got 1,100 stores. Go ahead.
Yeah, Pam, and it's not just about the fourth quarter that's double-digit same-store sales declines. It's about the past 5 quarters that has seen those kind of declines as well. So this is some big deterioration that JCPenney has seen. And to Corey's point about the real estate, all retailers love to talk about the value of the real estate. The reality is it's very, very hard to monetize that, and that's certainly some of the issues that JCPenney has been facing. I think what's most telling about this story right now is what the stock is doing in the aftermarket. It's down 7.5% on the news. Everyone wanted Ron Johnson out. He's out, and the stock is still down. I think the reality of the execution difficulties that JCPenney has going forward, especially coming into the all-important holiday season. Remember, this is when retailers start to prep for that season, is starting to dawn on the market. This is still a very, very tough road ahead for JCPenney. Mike Ullman has his job cut out for him. Simply taking Ron Johnson out of the picture doesn't necessarily fix all the problems they have. They have a lot to overcome here.